Okay, the first thing for chili con carne, there's going to be some chili beans in there and some mixed beans. You can use salad beans there, the leftovers from salad beans I've got. You can use anything you want really. They've been soaked for over 24 hours. Now they're going to be boiled for 10 minutes and then simmered for another hour. Okay, to make a chili con carne, I'm going to be using steak mince. I'm probably going to use both sets of it, but I may not, it all depends, but you need at least one and a bit. Okay, next ingredients for the chili. This is frozen corn, enough to just cover the bottom. 2 chili peppers, 1 sweet chili pepper that's not quite so warm. I'll bring it to a better size so you can see it. 2 onions, standard can of beans. I'm also going to add enough carrots to cover the bottom. They're roughly diced. They're frozen, but they're going to be heated up in the saucepan first, and then the onions and the chilies will be added to it. I'm also going to add some sweet peppers onto the top of that now, so you can see how many I'm going to put in. Okay, that's the bell peppers added. There's no red in there, just because I didn't have red, but it's about a half of each. That's 1 1/2 it's in there. You could put 4 halves in there. I would have done that if I'd had enough of it, but I've not got enough sliced this way. The other ones are sliced in half and longer. Okay, that's what it looks like with the rice added into it. Obviously it's going to have onions, chili peppers and sweet peppers in there, but that's not going to take up much room. 2 onions will bring it up a little bit more. Approximately it's going to be half way up, and then the meat goes on the top with the tomato, chopped tomato, whatever else I'm going to add. Okay, this shows how the onions are going to be done. Half them, peel them so they don't pull that out and take the peel off. Then cut them into slices. Doesn't really matter how thick or thin, you just don't want onion rings. These again, tops cut off, half, take all that out. That's been done the same, half, blot it all out, and then wash your hands immediately to get rid of the pepper that's on your fingers. Now the carrots have been cooking for about 6 or 7 minutes. I'm going to add in the other frozen veg. There we go, bell peppers and corn in there. I'll take a couple of minutes now to cook through. After that I'm going to put in the other chilies and the raw onions. Okay, that's the peppers, both chili and sweet peppers added into there. The bell peppers are in there obviously already. Only 1 onion in there at the moment. This will be done when the onion is caramelised. The other onion will go into the pan before I do the meat, then I'll put the meat into the same pan afterwards, just give it that little bit more flavour. This will be done in a few moments. Onion in there, just waiting now to cook a little bit and be caramelised. Now you can see the onion is now more or less caramelised. It's lost its white sheen that was on it, and it's starting to turn a little bit brown. That's more or less cooked. Once it starts to go a little bit browner, then out it comes and in goes the meat. But that's almost good enough now. The caramelising just takes away the bitterness from the onion. So that's almost done. Okay, the minced beef is now in the pan and cooking away. You have to break it down before you can put it in there. You have to split it all up because it comes in supposedly minced, but it's a solid block. You just have to take some time to break it all down, put it in there. Once it's all brown, it can then go into the dish. I've still got the baked beans and I've still got the chili kidney beans to add in yet, the mixed beans as well. So depending on whether I want to use the other meat, you'll either do it as a pinch for 1 chili, or I'll be making 2. I'm sort of hoping to make 2, so I might be doing another one of these. We'll see how it goes once it's all in. Okay, that's more or less cooked. Got to chop it down and stir it up, otherwise it'll set itself solid. So you've got to keep on stirring it, and you've got to chop it so that you don't get large lumps. And eventually, once it's done, it'll all be one colour and it will be done. It's nearly there now, another couple of minutes. Okay, that's what it looks like with the chili beans in there. It now wants the baked beans in there, but I'm also going to put in a can of chopped tomatoes. You could just use tomato puree instead. It wouldn't make much difference. I sometimes use tomato puree. Then I'm going to add the meat to it. Okay, that's what it looks like with a full tin of beans and some chopped tomatoes put in there. There's only going to be room in there for one lot of meat. If I wanted to use the two, I'd split that into a second casserole dish. Not added any spices to it yet. Okay, the spices are going to be just over a half teaspoon of hot chili powder, or mild if you're a pansy, a teaspoonful of cumin dried, and a teaspoonful of paprika, and one oxo cube. It can be a spoon of bovril or anything else if you want. That's just going to make the stock. Put the water in to bring it up to where we need it to. And that's what it looks mixed before the stock's gone into it. Okay, and that's what it looks like with the stock in there. That's approximately 200 millilitres. If you don't think it's enough when you're doing it, just boil some water and put some more on until it goes up. It doesn't want to go up too much, but you could put a bit more in that. And if you don't think it's going to be quite ready enough, if you've got some tomato puree, add that in as well. But that will thicken up the mixture that you've got. Also, if it's a bit too watery, you could add a tablespoonful of flour to it. Okay, the last thing that I've done to it is I've added 100 millilitres of tomato puree. That's what I've used. Squeeze out 100 millilitres of it. I've got 3 of these, so I decided I'd use one anyway. Let you see what it looks like. It doesn't really make that much difference to the meal. Make it a bit more tomatoey, but it should be fine as it is. Then you need to cook that in the oven, 150 degrees centigrade. That's in the fan assisted oven. About an hour and a half, I would say. You can do it for 2 hours if you want, but an hour and a half should be fine. Everything else is already cooked. If it then needs a little bit more water, boil a kettle, put some in there. If it's a bit watery, then add a tablespoonful of flour to it, stir it all up, put it back in for another half an hour. And that's what it looks like when it's finished. Not too bad.